The scene begins exactly where the last episode ended. Azriel Stirling stands before the figure of Senator Minos, bound in a chair deep in the heart of the Dominion, in the ruins beneath the capital city of Carcordia, held here and eventually executed by members of the political cabal operating under the name Will Solace. At the moment, Azriel is alone here with the body of Senator Minos, and he falls to his knees. As an inquisitor in the Church of the Enduring Servant, his faith takes over. He may be an inquisitor, but he is still a member of this holy order, and he begins offering forth prayers for Senator Minos' soul. Familiar phrases are uttered. Lies will be exposed. The truth endures. Life must have an end, but the spirit endures. And when Azriel Stirling opens his eyes, his sensor is emitting more of that sky iron infused vow, the mist that allows him to empower himself, and he inhales greatly. And we are going to roll his necromancer abilities from his path. We are going to aid an ally to serve as their guide as they face death. We are going to roll plus heart on this, securing an advantage with resolve, +2 for Azriel. That is a 3 + 2 for a 5 versus a 6 and a 2 on the challenge dice, but I'm going to use Azriel Stirling's fugitive path. I can improve the result to a strong hit, filling a clock segment of a 4-segment clock, as people who are after him as a fugitive are getting closer to showing up. As Azriel Stirling prays for Senator Minos' soul, it becomes visible to Azriel Stirling, much like his brother's ghostly visage became visible to him in the tavern way back when he met Cassidy McCabe, when he negotiated on behalf of the crew of the Enduring Blade. Senator Minos' spirit is every bit as composed and proud as he stood in life. And though Azriel Stirling and the Senator did not know each other, despite their circling one another throughout this adventure, Azriel simply wishes to help him pass on. Azriel's other necromancer ability says, while in the presence of the remains of an intelligent being, you may gather information by summoning their spirit to answer your questions. If you do, roll plus heart and take +1 momentum on a hit. We will roll heart one more time for this interaction. That is a strong hit, a 5 + 2 for a 7 versus 2 6s on the challenge dice for a strong hit with a match. Senator Minos looks down at his own body and frowns. There was so much left to do. But if my part here is over, there is still much to be done. Thank you for speaking these kind words. And Azriel Stirling looks up at the Senator's ghost and says, Please, tell me what's going on here. Do you know? And Senator Minos slowly explains everything. In a moment that, from the outside, it is impossible to tell if this is a moment frozen in time and all of this is happening in but an instant, or if the slow dust swirls beneath these ruins, the images replaying the past, are just coalescing because of the power in the ruins at this moment. Don't forget, Cassidy's destruction of these altars elsewhere in the myriads has caused this sort of relay in the center here underneath the capital to not be working appropriately. The altar upon which Azriel kneels before the dead body of Senator Minos is supposed to be almost like a conduit. It is not functioning correctly. And as Senator Minos explains what he heard from the Cabal, what he was offered to join, to change things in the Kyrody Dominion, to fit their visions, he refused and paid the ultimate price. Because we got a strong hit with a match, I'm going to roll on the ruins opportunity here to see if there's something actionable Azriel can do. That is a 20, which says, a clue reveals a new aspect about this place. I think Azriel, after speaking with Senator Minos, realizes that he is at almost like a energy station to which all of these altars are sending some kind of power harnessed by the sacrifices, by the ghosts held and tethered at these far outposts, creating this domain within which Sky Iron becomes corrupt. And Azriel realizes that he can do something to further break what is already broken here, thanks to Cassidy. In an incredibly emotional outburst of anger from what he experienced in Elder Duran's closet, to the lies he's been told, to the revelations that have just been told to him by Senator Minos, Azriel Stirling reaches in and breaks open his censer, letting out all of whatever is left of this pure Sky Iron that resurrected him when he died, brought him back for the Church of the Enduring Servants, and he harnesses all of it. We are going to roll Face Danger with Iron, Azriel Stirling's worst stat, but he has imbued himself with all of this life-giving Sky Iron, wrapped up in this bond to keep him living, this vow to serve as the Enduring Servant, and he's going to use all of it to destroy this place. That is a 1 on the action die, +1, versus a 3 and an 8 on the challenge dice for a miss. But I am going to mark that fugitive path once more to improve the result to a strong hit, filling a segment of the clock. And because of where the story is, Azriel Stirling's outburst of anger, of Sky Iron magic, of whatever it is he is wielding at the moment to just bring down this relay station of the curse. It's working. But it's drawn the attention of the Cabal known as Will Solace. We've turned this into a strong hit. I think that not only does Azriel Stirling destroy whatever mechanisms are tethering and pulling the essence of these altars to this place, I think he's going to collapse these ruins. I think it is almost certain anything under a 90 is going to be destruction. 38 says yes, as the Cabal rushes back into this room where they'd left the dead body of Senator Minos, expecting nothing to happen here. They've done what they needed, they've questioned, they rush in to find Azriel Stirling standing there, censer open, just pouring forth this Sky Iron pure energy. He has become the conduit for whatever this pure Sky Iron vow is, the antithesis of the cursed Sky Iron that is creating the Bloodsworn and all of these things that this Cabal wishes to do to change the Dominion. Is it purifying? Is it just engulfing in a pure flame to destroy all of this cursed energy? Whatever it is, Azriel Stirling achieves it. Before that Kyrody naval officer, Akiri, rushes forward, fighting the waves and pulses of this Sky Iron just bursting forth, and gets close enough where we see them raise that whalebone club and just break it over the back of the head of Azriel Stirling, who falls to the altar, blood seeping from the back of his head. And as all begins to quiet down from whatever it was this Inquisitor of the Church of the Enduring Servant was doing, which Elder Malik, one of the other members of this Cabal, is rushing forward to see who it is and what they had to do with it, all of the commotion is all of a sudden stopped once more as the ruins themselves tremble. The dust in the air turns to small pebbles falling from the ceilings of these caves, and the three of the Cabal look at one another in shock as larger boulders begin to fall, and the ruins collapse in on themselves below the city, the capital of the Kyrody Dominion, Carcordia, above them. Elsewhere in the capital of Carcordia, Drake McCabe is praying at a temple of the Church of the Enduring Servants. He's waiting for his final checkup from the priests who helped cure him to ensure that everything has been done correctly, and he'll be free to leave to pursue his life in the Explorers Guild. As he meets with one of the priests who is going over his health and listening to his lungs and heart, and he's asking him questions about how he is feeling, a rumble throughout the entire city can be felt, almost like an earthquake. And at the moment that Azriel Stirling opened his censer and began his own ritual in the ruins beneath, the small bondstone, now affixed around Drake McCabe's neck, dangling above his heart, begins to float. The power within it is pulling towards something nearby. The priest looks confused and shocked, and Drake McCabe stands up and begins following it, as it's pulling him towards a bunch of things just in the temple around, and there are boxes. And the priest says, "Oh, sir, no, please, those are the elders' things. We were packing them up." And Drake leans down and reaches into a box to pull out the scepter, with ornately wrought iron atop it, balanced and floating in the center of which is that small piece of cursed sky iron that caused Azriel Stirling to fly into a blood-sworn-like rage. And as Drake McCabe holds it, his locket is pulling closer and closer, and as he does, it opens the littlest bit, and a small light, a beam of that pure sky iron vow, pierces the censer and focuses on that small, cursed piece of sky iron and turns it from a dusty, rust-colored red to the pure, gleaming, clear with a tint of light blue and green in it that it is supposed to be. The priest looks at Drake McCabe, confused, and says, "What did you do? How did you..." And Drake says, "I didn't do anything. I just felt it. I was pulled to it." Across the city, across the myriads, all those who've been resurrected with the sky iron through the Church of the Enduring Servants for whatever purpose, nefarious or goodly, begin realizing they have not just been brought back, but they have been given a little something more. This begins a day of chaos in Carcordia. The collapse of the ruins causes a great amount of damage to the area of the city where the openings were to, but not just there, kind of all over. Pockets of the city fall in like sinkholes, and there's a mass evacuation that is underway, coordinated by both the Kyrody Capital Police as well as the Navy for ships getting out of here. And I think that while they are waiting for word from the Ebb, we see Cassidy, Quan, Damaris, and Asana waiting. As all of this is happening, they're debating whether or not they need to leave, whether they need to go. Damaris and Asana maybe offer to stay and relay word, but just in time, a runner, a small teenager, something like what Cassidy may have been in her previous decade of life, runs to the tavern and lets them know that All of the Ebb's contacts are also in the process of evacuating or securing important intel and people and things like that while they're getting to the bottom of this, and that for the moment, the crew of the Revenant has no important business to be done here in the capital city, so they can flee and evacuate with the rest of the people. The Ebb will reach out and contact them as usual. I kind of want to know if anybody in the party or anybody nearby may have the sort of sense that something happened in these ruins that is affecting these altars, because now all that is really left is to bring the Revenant. If this conduit for the altars has broken, there are 2 other altars, but they're no longer feeding this energy to the center here in the capital city, creating that dome. Perhaps they may just be isolated incidents. You know what? I have an idea. If the crew is going to make it back to the docks and they are going to board the Revenant to decide what it is they have to do next, let's roll to see if any of the moons are full. So if either Wraith or Cinder are full. Oh, we have a full Wraith, and that is perfect, actually, for everything that is going on. It is chaos, but it is of a magical sort of chaos that is going on right now. The dome of this curse that is affecting Sky Iron, brought into the heart of the myriads here of the Dominion, is now collapsing. A full Cinder means that the Revenant is on board. What Cassidy calls the captain is waiting when they arrive at the ship. It's taken the better part of a day to get everybody in the city, moving to where they need to be, and the streets are packed and busy, and people are trying to get rid of things and find people and all of this stuff. So by the time Cassidy, Damaris, Lee, the ghost of Lee, Quan, and Asana make it back to the Revenant, it is nighttime, and waiting for them there is the captain, standing on the quarterdeck. I have not found out if anybody other than Cassidy can see the captain because of her blood having awakened him and created this vow. I'm going to say it is unlikely, so 25 or less. No, that is a 99. Cassidy is for sure the only one who can see him, and everybody boards the Revenant. Cassidy looks at them and says, "Give me a moment." And she stands on the gunwale of the quarterdeck, like usual, hands on it, looks over to what everyone sees is her talking to no one at the moment. I think the captain is done waiting.
"Do you sense it?"
And Cassidy looks at the captain and says, "Sense what?"
"Where once these isles felt large, I knew my bounds, but it is though the walls have fallen, and the expanse beyond is terrifying. And as if to guide me to a place where I might feel safe, there is but one beacon of light in the center, calling me."
Cassidy's eyes go and follow where the captain is staring out, and they lead in the direction of the Razor Isle. And she says, "Whatever we've been doing with these altars, the seas there, it's going to be dangerous."
"It was always going to be dangerous. I care not anymore if I wreck on that shore. Just bring me."
And Cassidy turns back and looks at the ghost, who slowly turns his head and looks at Cassidy. And she says, "I've been meaning to ask you this. If we do bring you there, it's just a ship. We'll be anchored out in the shallows, or worse yet, beat you on the sands. What then do we do with you?"
"Let us worry about getting there first."
Without any of the crew making any preparations, pulling any sails, doing anything, everyone on board feels the Revenant lurch into the waters, as if being guided by the captain himself. And we are going to set a course to the Razor Isle. When you travel a known route through perilous seas, across hazardous terrain, or within mysterious sites, roll plus supply. So this is going to be, I think, plus hold. Again, doesn't really matter. Oh, it doesn't matter either way, because that is a 4 on the die. Even if we used hold plus 5, it's no good against 2 9s on the challenge dice for a miss with a match. And you know what? I think this is appropriate. We weren't going to get away with just setting a course to the Razor Isle, because if you recall, the Razor Isle is now surrounded by sea spouts and storms that will target the ships traveling towards it. So we're going to have to do something here to reflect getting through that. And I think we all know what I'm going to do. It's time for a scene challenge. We are going to face an extended or complex challenge, name our objective, and choose a rank. Our objective is sail through the storms to reach the Razor Isle. We are going to choose a rank, and I think that it's probably going to be dangerous. We don't have an advantage. We are not outmatched or unprepared. We've known this is coming, so we're going dangerous. We're going to make a 4-segment clock, and we're going to get going. As the Revenant pulls itself out of port and begins sailing, I think the crew begins getting everything ready, tacking and rigging the sails and everything they're supposed to be doing. Cassidy pretends like she is back in charge, but really she is just consistently looking over at the captain who is sailing towards their own doom. She knows it's something that she promised she would do, but it's always felt so far away and so impossible. But seeing this being she's come to know, albeit very little, she's still not sure who this really is. They don't even know who they really are, what this vow entails. I think I'm going to just tick up our bond with the Revenant. It brings it all to 3 boxes, which is not much, but that seems appropriate. She's been putting off helping the ship itself, but now it's time to face that. And speaking of facing it, let's go ahead and kick off our scene challenge by facing danger. We are making our way to the Razor Isle, and I think that we are going to be heading into this. We are approaching the area where storms on the horizon are surrounding the island. We can see that it's cloudy all over, but the dark clouds above this island swirl and seem to stay in that spot, and from these clouds you can see the tornado-like sea spouts and lightning in the distance, and we need to figure out how we are going to tackle sailing through these waters. We're going to face danger with expertise, focus, or observation, rolling plus Cassidy's wits plus 2 here as we look and try and figure out the best way to go into this storm. There's a 5 plus 2 for a 7 against a 6 and a 2 on the challenge dice for a strong hit. On a strong hit, you are successful and mark progress. So we get to mark our first bit of progress, which is 2 boxes of this dangerous scene challenge. And we managed to get in a certain lull in these storms. But these storms are specifically going to target anything approaching the island, so it is not long before these sea spouts begin to converge on our location. I think that seeing this, Cassidy is going to yell out and Asana is going to relay the message, and this is about how fast can our crew adapt to something unnatural. We are going to secure an advantage with Edge plus 2. That is a 6 plus 2 for an 8 versus 2 6s on the challenge dice for a strong hit with a match. We get plus 2 momentum, plus 1 on our next move, and get to mark progress. That was huge. I think that everybody is coming together, understanding what is it we are doing here. I think that we managed to pull everything off smoothly. We are starting to work as a more well-oiled crew here of the Revenant. The Revenant itself is helping us out, and we are now facing danger. I think that we are going to do this. There is no way we are going to avoid the next obstacle is the problem. So we're going to have to hit it dead on, and I think that Cassidy looks at people and we're moving quickly. Should we just roll with edge, or should we roll with strength and iron? We're going to roll with edge again because we got everything ready. Now it's time. We're going to go fast, and we're going to try and outpace a spout or something like a giant swell of a wave that is threatening to hit us from the side and cause us to capsize. Another 6 on the die for a 8 versus a 1 and a 9 on the challenge dice. 9 being Wraith. Magical. This is not just an angry storm. This is a magical storm. Something about this curse that lingers here on the Isle of the Razor Isle is causing these storms to target us, especially maybe, who knows, maybe it's specifically the Revenant. So on face danger, on a weak hit, you're successful, mark progress, but encounter a complication. We fill a clock segment, only our first one, and we are already at 6 progress on this scene challenge, which is way better than we usually do on these scene challenges. Let's go ahead and roll to see what this complication might be, and I think I'm going to roll it on the offshore observations table, and I'm going to up the curse chance to anything 6 or higher. So here goes. Well, that is cursed. That is an 8, and the oracle is a 62, so that is spectral lights. Ooh, I like that. We are heading into this. The rain is pouring. The spouts are blowing our sails. We're holding tight, using all of our muscles, all of our crew's strength to stay the course towards the isle. And these strikes are happening, and these spouts are closing in on us, following us. Waves are battering our hull from all directions. And all of a sudden, these spectral lights begin glowing and causing distractions to our crew. I think that means that our next action is going to have to be securing an advantage to keep focused, maybe with resolve. I think we're going to have to roll plus heart. Cassidy is going to have to snap everybody out of it. Not our best stat. 3 + 1 versus a 5 and a 6 on the challenge dice. I don't know if I should blow all of my momentum to make that a strong hit. I think because it was secure an advantage, I'm going to eat the miss, really take on that drama. And I think that, maybe these spectral lights, let's go ahead and roll on the oracle here. Maybe these spectral lights are causing not only sailors to be distracted, but almost like siren-esque, making a few jump overboard. I don't want to say this is likely or unlikely. Maybe unlikely, maybe 50-50. I'm going to go full custom with the oracle here. I'm going to say 40% chance. Anything 40 or less, people are jumping overboard. I rolled a 40 on the dot. I think we have a few of our crew launch themselves overboard. Not enough that it's very problematic, but obviously any crew members jumping overboard is terrifying, and I think that it is causing everyone here to go on high alert that things are turning for the worse here. We are slowly approaching this island, but it feels like even though we can see the coast, we can see the island, we can see where we might be able to make landfall, these storms are getting in our way. These waves are battering us off course. These lights are luring our sailors off the ship. Things are very, very tense right now. I think that Cassidy is going to face danger, and she's going to run to one of the positions that have been abandoned by the crew, and she's going to grab on, and she's going to pull on a rope, and she's going to scream at everyone on her crew to snap out of it. Unless the rest of us want to also join them at the bottom of the ocean, we need to get this ship to the shore. We are rolling plus iron, so only +1 for her. That is a 3 + 1 for a 4 versus a 2 and a 5 on the challenge dice for a weak hit. Weak hit on face danger. We mark progress but encounter a complication. We fill a clock segment. We are at 3 clock segments and we are at 8 progress. This is exactly where I want to be. It's like one more goes either way. We're either going to fill the clock and something terrible is going to happen, or we are going to miss and we're going to have to roll with it at 8 progress. This is exactly what I love, the high tension, high drama. All right, we are rolling our last roll of this scene challenge, and I think that she manages to get enough of them to just pull for it, and I think we see the beachhead, we see the sand, and the captain himself for the first time bellows, and I think we see a reaction from the entire crew, knowing that that was not Cassidy's voice. And he says, "There, now." And he actually takes full control, and we feel the Revenant lurch, and he is just going to beach the ship itself. And we're going to figure out what happens. But in order to do that, everyone is going to have to face danger. I think we're going to have to do this with agility to just kind of roll with it as the ship takes control of itself. Facing danger plus edge plus 2. That is a 5 plus 2 against a 5 and a 7 on the challenge dice for a weak hit. That means we are going to mark progress, and we are going to mark the final clock segment, which ends the scene perfectly. 10 progress, meaning we got there, and 4 filled clock segments. So we have to roll our challenge dice against the progress we have made. As long as we don't roll a 10, we are good. An 8 and a 2. On a strong hit, you achieve your objective unconditionally. We see as the crew scramble across the decks and rigging of the Revenant, and they are weaving their way between sea spouts and storms and waves, and a few of them get launched overboard, and others fall from high platforms and hit with a sickening crunch on the decks as the ship itself hits all of the sand in the shallows and lurches, groaning as it pushes into the sand with all of its momentum before tilting and falling sideways into the beachhead. There are groans and screams and a few moments of confusion and terror as people look for one another in the wreckage. But it appears that almost everyone, if not everyone, is accounted for and minimally injured. As Cassidy, Asana, Damaris, and Quan stand on the beach and take a head count of everyone who's made it, they're surprised when one more figure simply walks down off of the ship, and it is the ghostly manifestation of the captain, setting foot on the Razor Isle and walking towards them on the beach. Cassidy walks forward, surprised everyone else can now see the captain, and in hushed tones asks him, "So, what are we doing now?"
"They're here."
Who? Who is here?
"Those who trapped me in that vessel. It appears they too have just arrived back. Perfect timing."
And the captain just begins walking inland. I think we need to decide who is going with him as we undertake this journey. I think this is going to be obviously Cassidy and Lee, along with, do we think maybe just Quan? Do we think maybe just Cassidy? I think just Cassidy and Lee makes sense, as Asana is going to stay back with the ship and all of the crew. Damaris does not feel like this is his place, anything he has anything to do with the ebb, and I think Quan is going to be needed for their strength and abilities as a construct clockwork soldier. So we're just going to go the captain with Cassidy and Lee. So Cassidy and 2 ghosts. This feels right. I kind of like the idea of just jumping right into this and preventing myself from thinking too much like I usually do. So let's just go ahead and undertake an expedition into the Razor Isle. We are going to give this expedition a name and rank. We are going to give it the name Escort the Revenant through the Razor Isle. And then we will give it the rank. I'm thinking at least Formidable. Extreme might be too much. We'll go Formidable now that we're here. It's my favorite rank. It feels good. It's going to give us enough time to get details. All right, here goes. We are moving at speed because we're mostly trying to keep up with the Revenant. As much as we'd like to stay vigilant or keep a low profile, the ghost of the captain, the Revenant themselves, is just moving too fast. So here goes. Rolling plus edge, plus 2. Uh-oh. That is a 2 plus 2 against a 4 and an 8 on the challenge dice for a miss. On a miss, you are waylaid by a crisis. Do I want to spend momentum to turn that into a weak hit? Because we are currently at 8 momentum. 8 is on the challenge dice. Or just take the miss. First thing. we're just going to take the miss, and we're going to roll to pay the price and see what happens. 86. You are stressed. Yeah, I feel like I get that one a lot. So that's going to bring us down to 2 stress as we catch up to the captain, and they seem to just be walking straight through, but we are going to run into a crisis, or something is going to happen that is going to waylay us when we reach our first kind of waypoint, if you will. We haven't rolled on an oracle today, so let's go ahead and roll on descriptor focus and see what waylays us. 85, right next to 86, which we just rolled, which is secret. 83, wow, that's crazy. Symbol, secret symbol. Oh my goodness. Okay. When we were on the Isle of Namira, where we first cleansed our first altar, and where our brother Drake McCabe was researching things for the Explorers Guild with the Cynosha Society, these pre-cataclysm, pre-sundering relics and settlements and things like that, we decided that there was a language that maybe not everyone knew or could decipher or figure out. So I think this secret symbol is evidence that the Razor Isle is pre-cataclysm. It is pre-sundering. And obviously it serves as a reminder in the center of these myriads of the cataclysm, as we've been calling it, or of the ravages of war and terrible things that have happened since. So I think that maybe, let's go ahead and roll. We're just going to roll really quick before we explore this waypoint. Actually, you know what? Let's explore this waypoint. We are waylaid by a secret symbol. The captain is going to immediately recognize it. Does Cassidy immediately recognize it? Let's go ahead and roll, I think, on gather information, maybe? Or secure an advantage with wits. Either way, we're rolling plus wits, so let's go ahead. That is a 6 plus 2 for an 8 versus a 3 and a 7 on the challenge dice. So Cassidy recognizes this secret symbol. She is not unfamiliar with these glyphs, this strange old language. She hasn't learned much of it, but we did say that she brought some things back and maybe learned a little bit. So on a strong hit, we're going to say this was a secure an advantage to kind of recognize it before trouble came. So we're going to get plus 2 momentum and plus 1 on our next move. Gather information would have also given us plus 2 momentum and helped us discover something helpful or specific, but I think that because we're rushing to catch up with the captain, that's not exactly the case. And I think that the captain recognizes this and knows that something is about to happen when Cassidy approaches. What happens when we approach? I don't know. Let's go ahead and explore that waypoint. Ooh, that is another 6. On Explore Waypoint, you also roll plus wits, so that is a 6 plus 2 for an 8, but against a 4 and a 9 on the challenge dice for only a weak hit. On a weak hit, you uncover something interesting, but it's bound up in a peril or reveals an ominous aspect of this place. Envision what you encounter, then take plus 1 momentum. We have still yet to make any progress in this expedition so far, chasing the captain, but this makes sense. We are up to full momentum, and I just remembered we would have gotten plus 1 from our previous roll of the secure an advantage, but that still would have been a weak hit with the 9. So, all right, one more oracle roll, descriptor theme, to see what the peril is. 12. Charted. 81. Structure. What if we flip those? What if it's ruined boundary? Ooh, that's interesting. On a secret symbol, a ruined boundary. It's the old wall of one of the cities of the Razor Isle. What would have been this massive, imposing wall, keeping people out or protecting those within. Instead, there is rubble and destruction and almost like graffiti on the side. And along it is some of that ancient language that the captain seems to be able to read, is not relaying anything to Cassidy. And Cassidy can pick out little bits of it, which basically just say things like the downfall of this civilization and, you know, we're paying for the past, our sins of the past, etc. There's a lot of like doomsday kind of stuff written on this wall. The captain reads it and then just their head goes low. Then they look back up and continue into the city. Cassidy is remaining to give chase, but there is a peril here. I'm going to be gentle on myself in a way I usually am not, and I'm just going to face danger with edge to say that it's hard to get through all of this debris without potentially getting hurt. So let's see how this goes. Oh boy, that is a 1 + 2 for a 3 against a 2 and a 3 on the challenge dice for a weak hit. I'm going to go ahead and drop Cassidy's health by 1. Just saying that trying to keep up with the captain, who has no problem obviously moving across this physical terrain, she's trying to keep up, and I think she twists an ankle or something like that and continues to move forward. But obviously this is endgame level stuff here, so it's not just that she twists an ankle and continues to chase after the captain. Something else is going to be following them. Let's go ahead and roll for our next leg of the expedition. I think that Cassidy catches up enough and yells to the captain and says, "Wait, you're not going to do this alone. I promised. It was my blood, remember? I vowed to bring you here. And while we have made landfall and we are here, you cannot just storm off. If I am going to know that I have successfully delivered you where I've promised I will deliver you, you must let me accompany you." And this is going to be a compel really quick, just to see how this goes, and then we will roll the next leg of our journey. This is a compel against our friend. That is a 2 + 1 for a 3 versus a 3 and an 8 on the challenge dice, which would normally mean that the captain would refuse or make a demand that costs Cassidy greatly. Now, I could turn this into a strong hit with momentum, but that momentum is gonna be important in the near future. I like the idea of a miss. The captain is so close. I think instead he's going to continue saying cryptic things, and he looks at Cassidy and says,
"Had I not taken control of my own ship in the chaos that has befallen these islands, thanks to the actions of you and your friends, I still would not be on this island. If you wish to deliver me, then keep up."
And he turns, and I think this is going to be difficult. We are going to have to keep undergoing our expedition with edge in order to just keep up on this rolled ankle. Cassidy is struggling. That is a 5 + 2 for edge for a 7 versus a 1 and a 7 on the challenge dice. I just cannot get a strong hit. A weak hit does get us our first box of progress on this expedition though, but it comes with setbacks. We are going to have to either make 1 suffer move at -2 or 2 suffer moves at -1, or face a peril at the waypoint. And I kind of let us off the hook a little bit on the last peril with the miss, so I think it's time that that catches up to us. As the captain turns to continue walking through the Razor Isle to whatever destination they imagine they are making their way towards, Cassidy starts to rush to catch up, but instead she turns around when she hears the little bits of rockfall coming down, scree falling off of a small slope full of rubble, and climbing over the top of this small mound and walking down, crawling down, falling down, standing up, and pursuing are a pair of risen, undead humans. So let's go ahead and enter the fray. We are going to name this objective and give it a rank. The name is obviously going to be Fight Back the Risen, and the rank is Dangerous. Now, I said there's 2 of them. Normally Risen are dangerous from the Starforged book, but I'm going to just say that the 2 of them are not doing so well after hundreds and hundreds of years on the Razor Isle cursed here. So let's go ahead and roll to enter the fray. We are going to do so. I think that we are in the thick of it at close quarters, unfortunately. Cassidy is too close, so we're going to roll plus iron. But that is a 5 + 1 for a 6 versus a 5 and a 3 on the challenge dice for a strong hit. So on a strong hit, we get +2 momentum and are in control. We are maxed out on momentum, but we start in control. I guess I should start using that momentum. Here goes. Cassidy sees these 2 risen coming. One of them has fallen, the other is already getting up to its feet. She's going to pull her dirks, and she is going to rush for the one that is still on the ground to try and dispatch it more quickly. We are going to strike because we are in control. We are doing this at close quarters, so it is iron again, unfortunately, which, here comes that momentum. That is a 2 + 1 for a 3 versus a 4 and a 5 on the challenge dice. Burn all that momentum, bring it back down to 2 to turn that into a strong hit on a strike. A strong hit on a strike says, mark progress twice, you are dominating your foe, and stay in control. That's going to bring us all the way up to 4 boxes of progress right off the jump, and we are going to continue in control here. That's, almost halfway, which I think would mean that this one that's on the ground is not getting up anytime soon. Cassidy has to turn, reel, and deal with the other one who is probably lurching for her. I think the captain has at this point turned around, and Lee Stirling is here, and he is also pleading with the captain to slow down. We are in control, so we are going to gain ground. As this one is coming at us, we're going to try and read its movements. This thing is not acting particularly cunningly, and Cassidy is one who knows how to avoid a fight more than anything, so we are going to use our strength here, and we are going to misdirect with Shadow. 3 plus 3 for a 6 versus a 5 and an 8 on the challenge dice, 8 being Cinder. This thing can't be outsmarted, it's literally just trying to hurt us. So on a hit, you stay in control. On a weak hit, I can only choose 1. I'm going to keep bumping that momentum back up. We're going to take +2 momentum as we got this thing just kind of chasing us at the moment. And I think Cassidy knows she can't waste too much time fighting these things, but a lot of information is happening fast and she's trying to process it while fighting them. There are undead humans here, not ghosts like the captain and Lee, not resurrected like Azriel Stirling and whatever the Church of the Enduring Servants is doing. These are physical, corporeal bodies that have not gone to rest. We are going to once again strike in close quarters. That is a 3 plus 1 against a 3 and a 1 on the challenge dice. 2 strong hits on strike is going to bring us all the way up to 8 boxes of progress, and we retain control. This is maybe the best a combat has ever gone in my Sundered Isles podcasting, and we are still in control. I think that I always do this, but I think that we're just going to try and take decisive action at 8 boxes. We are in control. We're killing it right now. We are definitely playing with these undead a little bit, but Cassidy is no longer trying to get information. She can get it when they've stopped moving. We're going to roll our 2 challenge dice, a 3 and a 2 for a strong hit on take decisive action. So on a strong hit, you prevail. Take +1 momentum, and if any objectives remain, you can continue in control. No objectives remain. We are back at 5 momentum already and have dispatched these 2 risen. And at that point, I think that Cassidy just realized that when she pulled her dirks and began fighting these undead humans, she was doing so to defend herself, to protect her life. But now she sees that glow that was given to her by the island Namira itself to purge these altars is the reason that these risen have actually fallen to the blades. She looks at them on the ground and sees that many times they have taken sword stabs and have scores on their body from being cut by daggers and punctured by bullets and darts and anything you can imagine. But when her daggers, when her dirks, enchanted with this gift of Namira, stabbed them, she sees them now in a state of repose that they have not known in who knows how long. I'm going to mark one more box of progress with the Revenant's connection as he and Lee Stirling make their way back towards where Cassidy is pulling these bodies and making makeshift cairns out of the rubble. And they stand over her, and Lee says, "You okay, Cass?" And Cassidy says, "Yeah, I'm fine, actually, and I don't know what I expected here, but this wasn't it, and if anything, I'm glad whatever that island gave me in these daggers was able to give these ones rest." And the captain steps forward over them.
"These were my people. I know not their names. I recognize not their faces. But I know. And that's more than I've known about myself in a very long time. Thank you. And I'm sorry for rushing off. This place calls to me in a way that nothing has. And I think that we would both be better off traveling to the center, wherever we are going, together."
Cassidy stands up, looks at Lee, looks at the captain, and nods. Glad to hear you've come around. I think we all need a little rest, and let's go ahead and start with you, hey Cap. And that's where we're going to end this session of Ironsworn Sundered Isles. Next episode, likely to be the finale. Thank you so much for listening. I hope that you are enjoying what you are hearing. If you do, find me on the social medias and give me a follow. You can always reach out to me directly at reneplaysgamespod@gmail.com. Leave a rating and review on your podcatcher of choice. If you feel obscenely generous, I have a coffee page that I have not touched in far too long, but anything helps just cover the cost of podcast hosting and the software I use to do my interviews and get my transcripts for these podcast episodes. So again, thank you for listening. And until next time, be there for your friends and get some rest. You deserve it.